Hey, real estate rock stars. This is Aaron Amuchastegui, and I'm back for another episode today. I am really excited to be back on the show to interview Jerry Hammond. Jerry is from Toronto, Canada, from Hammond International Properties. So I am wearing sunglasses right now for you guys on YouTube, and I'm wearing sunglasses in a dark room so I can barely read my notes because I have like some major eye issues. We were almost going to postpone this because I have a doctor appointment in a little bit. If my glasses were off, you guys would make fun of me forever. So instead, you can make fun of me for wearing sunglasses during the interview. And Jerry has so kindly said, let's go on with the show. It's not going to bug him too bad. So Jerry, how's it going, man?
Great. What a pleasure to be on this podcast with you guys.
Well, we're glad to have you. Looks like you got a cool office over there. I can see big images of luxury properties behind you. How long have you been in real estate, Jerry?
Yeah, about 35 years.
Cool. Always in Toronto?
Always in Toronto. Started with a previous company, outgrew the company, sold over 1,000 properties within my time frame with that company, and was in the top 25 out of over 100,000 agents with the previous company. And then we jumped ship and decided, okay, we're going to design our own concept, come up with our own theme, and focus strictly on the luxury market.
So a long time ago, Toronto, Canada, why did you want to get into real estate?
You know what? I was actually going to go into law school. And I had a good friend of mine who was in law school, was articling, and I saw the way they were working him. And I said, gosh, if I'm going to give that kind of effort, I'm going to do it for myself. I'm not going to do it for somebody else. And so it led into real estate. And back then, I wanted to earn a lot of money. And I found out that real estate was certainly an asset class that most millionaires owned. And I wanted to be encouraged and enter into that world. And so I got my real estate license at a young age, in my early 20s. I was always eager and ambitious, so I had a driving force to make things happen. Always had big dreams and big goals, so that helps along the way. I read a lot of great books, met a lot of incredible people along my journey and my path, and said, you know what, real estate seems to be the way it is, because everybody I talk to has an investment in real estate. And most millionaires have made their money through real estate. So I just thought, you know, what a good connection. And now I'll just lead the path and see where I can take it. And that was the essential aha moment, I guess, to enter into real estate.
Yeah, that was back in like 1990-ish?
No. It was, it was in the early 90s, like in 93, 94, you know, when I was just in my early 20s and just getting an idea and foothold as to what I want to do.
Man, for most agents, like even understanding what real estate was like back then would be really tough to comprehend. Like the way that, you know, listings used to be published or posted on walls and things like that, or passed out in booklets at your local, you know, realtor things, but it wasn't as easily accessible now to even know what was for sale, right?
Yeah,
Other than a for sale sign. Like for sale sign was always how did you get your very first deal?
Oh, so this is one for the book. So
it doesn't matter if it's been 35 years or not. Everybody remembers their first deal.
This was really interesting. So here I am. I get a referral. I was door knocking. Okay, and he's a very famous chef here in Canada. His name, I won't mention any names. Owned a very famous restaurant. Knocked at his door and said, "Hi, how are you? Are you thinking of moving? I've got some great homes on the other side of this intersection, and it's a brand new subdivision. Would you like to upgrade?" So he says to me, "Well, if you find me this home, this is what I'm looking for. I want a pool. I want," he showed me the description of the home that he was looking for. So there was a for sale by owner on the other side of the street. She was trying to sell her own home, and I said to her, "I think I might have somebody for your property. The description sounds pretty good. Can I come and see it? And if I do, I'll bring through this buyer and, possibly make a sale." So she was open to the idea. So then I take this individual, take him to the other side, show him the house. Well, he loves the house. He says, "This is perfect." So he's interested in the property. And then I get a referral from a friend who owns a property down in what's defined as Bloor West Village, which is very far from the area that I was focusing on. Anyways, she calls me up and she says, "I want a house that has a very Santa Fe look and feel from the interior." And so I said, "I think I've got the perfect home," because this gentleman's home had a very Santa Fe feeling from the inside. So she comes over, looks at the house, and she loves the house. And so now she's got to sell her house. And so she says, come back and look at my property. And this is in Bloor West Village, which is off of 51 Lincoln Road, which is the address that I remember. And I take the listing. I do an open house that first weekend. Young couple comes in and they buy the property. So now I take them and I sell them the chef's home, the restaurant entrepreneur. And then I take him and I sell him the for sale by owner home. And then I take the for sale by owner and I sell her a brand new home in the same subdivision and upgrade her. So it was more than a trifecta. I listed and sold each and every property. And so at that moment, I'm like, oh my gosh, I was chosen for this field. This happened for a reason, and I'm going to stick with it. And that was the epiphany, I'd have to say, hey, listen, you're going to stick this out. This is what you were meant to be. And you're on a roll, and people like and trust you. So continue on this path.
What an epic first story. So you did 4 double-ended transactions.
Yes.
That came from knocking on a door.
Right.
And if that guy simply talk about, so people are afraid of door knocking. Not everybody, but some people are.
True.
Because like, what if, right? Because nobody likes when the door gets shut in their face. But but the reality we need to remind ourselves, agents that are door knocking, like you are offering value to something. That guy didn't know the house he wanted was across the street listed for sale by owner, and he could have gone and bought it.
Sure.
Right? Like that's how much help people need.
Yes.
Right? So he's like, hey, I need this. And you're like, okay, I'll go do this and I'll go find it for you. So you double-ended 4 deals from door knocking. All right, this might be a little tougher to remember because everybody remembers their first deal, but how long did it take from when you started in the business, like you started door knocking, to where that was the door knocking experience you had?
Yeah, it was rather quick for me. So it almost came naturally. And what's interesting, you talk about door knocking. So you don't know what you don't know. So when you have to use your tools and utilize the fundamentals that need to get you where you want to go, door knocking is an essential tool. But what a lot of people don't realize is, when you're showing up at a door and you door knock, unless you have a pleasing personality, unless you're sincere, unless you're looking to help them and really serve, people may not want to talk to you, and it may not be the right time. So what we've done in the meantime, we've designed something so people can go comfortably to homeowners and door knocking and leave a package, and it's of value. And then that value proposition turns things around so they do call you. So I realized there was apprehension on a lot of agents' part, even in our own organization. So I tried to make it easy and provide a tool that could open up the door, leave something behind, something of value, and that they would call us based on the quality of work that we left behind.
Cool. So I'm going to dig into that in just a second.
Sure.
So you said it happened really naturally. Like day 1 of door knocking, you found that guy. The first week of door knocking, you found that guy. 3 months.
So my first year of real estate. So in my early 20s, I made between $130,000 and $150,000 in my first year.
Yeah.
So, I knew that was my path, and I was going to stick with it. And yes, this happened in the first year. So, an incredible way to say, hey, listen, I think you're in the right place at the right time.
Yeah. It's usually, I've heard the quickest I've seen is a month after someone got their license, they got a lead from door knocking that led to that.
Right.
The average, so there's going to be 5,000 people that hear this episode that just got their license this week.
Right.
Right. And I'm just trying to give them realistic expectation of like, hey, if you do great and you go do this, like, don't give up on month 1, don't give up on month 2, like keep going. It might take you 9 months to get that first door knocking to answer, but then it might turn into 4, double-ended deals.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. So the 150,000 your first year is great, but most people I'm interviewing, well, it's like hit and miss. So that's why I was curious if it took you a month to start making money in real estate or 9 months to start making money in real estate.
Yeah, no, I was very fortunate. I was very hungry at the time. I wanted to make the right impression. I didn't want to fail because a lot of people tried to talk me out of real estate. They wanted me to go back to law school. And this was in the early 90s. So if you recall the early 90s, the economy wasn't great. So, I had to basically lead against all the naysayers and, focus on being positive. And I've always been kind of the eternal optimist. And I think that energy alone sometimes helps you along your path. So that really helped a lot of doors open and just stayed focused, within the real estate industry.
So so I want to go back really quick because we got so much stuff to cover on here, but you talked about like you've kind of mastered door knocking. What are 2 or 3 like quick tips within that? So you said you've come up with a whole system for that, but like the 2 or 3 quick tips, if somebody is out there door knocking right now, they're struggling, you think might help them do a little bit better when they go out this afternoon?
Yeah, I think you just have to go out without the apprehension, prepare yourself for the door knock, have a smile, have a pleasant personality, provide something of value. Don't always think it's about you. Ask them their questions. I'll ask them how long they've been there for, or whether they know somebody in the neighborhood that might be interested in possibly selling, if they're not interested at this time. And then leave something of value so you'll be remembered, and then keep that constant communication open over time. So if you don't get a positive response when somebody opens the door, then leave something behind and make sure that they'll remember you. And then next time that you're coming around the area, they will remember you because of all the constant communication that you've kept up.
What's the example of something of value that you give when you go door knocking?
Okay, so at this moment in time, we created our own gift bags, what we define as our gift bags. And within our gift bags, we have a lot of our assets. We give out some of the magazine articles that we're in, a lot of our postcards that we are in. It's a personalized letter that we place in the gift bags, a pad of paper, a pen from the organization. So we leave it behind. And what that does is it gives us shelf life in their homes. So they'll have something to read, something to look about, something to maybe go back to our website and look at the properties that we manage. Our properties are exceptional. They're some of the best in Canada, some of the most expensive properties across Canada. And we made a concentrated effort to make sure that whatever we put out there shows not only good value, but is of top quality. In other words, the written format, the way it's presented, the type of paper that we present with. So, we made sure that everything was, I would say, first class, or white glove service. And that's what we demonstrate every day in our business.
Yeah. So and when you go out and do this door knocking, is it targeted like, hey, it's a neighborhood, or is it specific houses, or you essentially have 30 gift bags and you're like, I'm going to knock on as many doors as I can until I talk to 30 people today?
Yeah, so we define we cover about 35,000 homes in the greater GTA, and these are the most expensive properties in the southern part of Ontario as our primary focus. So we've established ourselves over time through what we define as drip campaigns and certain events that we host within the communities, and so people are aware of who we are, and when they're getting the gift bag, it's just over and above everything else that we're doing, and we keep this focus and we keep this lead generation style constant within the organization. And the bags look so good. I mean, it's something you could look at a Louis Vuitton bag, you could look at a Chanel bag, and you go, you know what? It really stands out. We made sure that the color stood out. In terms of women, loving the color that we utilize, which is a Tiffany blue color. All of that helps enhance, build the brand, and makes us recognized all around. So everything from the signs to the bags and what's in the bags. It's all in a certain tone, in a certain color, and communicated in a certain way, and that's what makes us stand out. None of it's average, and what I mean by average is everything in the communication that goes within the bag itself.
Got it. So somebody answers the door, and you say, "Hey, I'm so and so. I'm Jerry Hammond. Are you the owner of this home? Have you thought about buying or selling a house anytime soon?"
Yeah, that's more or less, or they recognize the name automatically, and then we leave them the gift bag, and they thank us for the gift bag, and that's usually a way of them remembering who we are.
And so regardless of the conversation, they say, no, I'm not interested in buying or selling, or hey, I don't own this, I'm a renter. And you say, all right, well, do you know anyone that might be buying or selling? Sometimes they say yes, and you get that referral. Sometimes they say no matter what, you give them the gift bag. Hey, if you change your mind in the future, or you think of anybody, here's something from us. Now you remember us.
Yeah, always make a great impression. First impressions are everything. Always make a great impression. And you never know who's going to be behind that door and who they know and who they're related to.
Yeah. No matter what they look like when they open that door, you never know. That's a big lesson of real estate. Okay. So you talked about your drip campaign. You talked about you've got these like people that you follow up with. How are you getting your leads into that drip campaign? Is it door knocking, then you get information and then that gets put into your CRM, or how are you getting most of your leads that get popped into your CRM at all?
Well, what's interesting is it's a lot of different things. So we've got a YouTube channel, we've got our postcard campaign, we have our direct mail campaigns, we have the bag drop-offs, we have, personal things that we do. Each of the agents covers their own, what we define as our farm areas. Farming's essential because once you build that farm territory, so, I always say time is money and money is time. So hyper focus on certain areas and you'll build a successful business within the neighborhood as long as you're a good advocate and you're providing value to homeowners and you're getting, higher than typical values and you're profiling the neighborhood and their homes exceptionally well. So all of those things, including our events, we host these wonderful events and we collaborate with other luxury brands that help, build the brand and the look of the brand and who we're associated with.
Hey, real estate rock stars. This is Aaron Amucci-Steggy. Quick commercial break. If you've heard about our mastermind in Austin, you know it's where some of the best connections and breakthroughs happen for agents and team leaders across the country. Hey, our next one, even though it's far out, it's February 25th through 27th, downtown Austin. But ticket sales are actually closing July 28th. If the event isn't for that long, why are we closing out tickets that long? We want to be able to focus on the event and on the mastermind and not ticket sales. So if you've seen all of our reviews from people in the past, it is a no-brainer to join, but this is your last chance to join. So this is one of those things that you heard us on the podcast, said next year. Last chance. Go to realestaterockstarsmastermind.com. Grab your ticket before July 28th. Hope I see you there. So one of the ways you get leads is you go door knock. We've already talked about that one.
Yep.
And you guys crushed that one. Another way is by farming, and farming for agents that are new that might not know what that is choosing like a neighborhood, a zip code. It could be a street of big houses, like the area people want. And farming is more like, instead of like very specific, like mailing just the people that are likely to sell, you're blasting out letters and postcards and CMAs and this sold recently in your neighborhood or neighborhood newsletter. You're just mailing a ton of stuff to, let's say, those 300 houses. I mean, people have done like really high in neighborhoods as small as like 300 houses. I think people farm to as big as like 3,000 to 5,000, but an agent will choose an area. That'll be their area. And then they just send them stuff all the time. So that way they're top of mind. And then if he or she ever goes and door knocks in that neighborhood, kind of recognize like, oh yeah, I've gotten 20 of your letters before. So farming is one of your tactics. Someone replies to that and says, hey, I'd like more info. Then they get added to your CRM. Tell me about this luxury event. Like, cause I could see somebody right now that just moved into a new area or that's trying to enhance their brand. And this is the year they said they're going to step it up. So how can, so break that down a little bit. Like, what do you do? How do you do it? How could someone else go do that in their area?
Okay, so I'm just going to back up a little bit if you don't mind. So just going back to the farming. So a good thing to understand, I think, is an essential component that a lot of agents don't do, and this is a science. You have to study the listings to sales ratios before you start investing in some of the neighborhoods that you're going to be farming. So listings to sales ratios will tell you the percentage of homes that are selling at any given time in that marketplace. And if you factor that into your investment moving forward when you're farming, you can get an indication on what your cash flow or how many homes you'll need in order to sell within that marketplace at any given time. So, and usually we break it down into up to 10 properties. So let's say 3 out of 10 are selling. That means you've got a 30% chance of selling. You've got to have 10 homes in order to sell the 3 at any given time. So you're holding the amount of inventory to support the market, and the market's coming to you constantly. So that's a very important indicator.
So you won't choose. Yeah. So that's really smart. So somebody says, hey, this is my area. This is where I live. I want this to be a farming area. And then you do the analysis and you go, oh, well, only 1 out of 10 houses is selling there every 6 months. So if you're going to do that, like in order to make your goal, you told me you want to make 300 grand this year. In order to make your goal, you need 50 listings. So maybe we need to widen out your farm, or you need to farm a total different area where houses sell. So you're not. It's not important to get market share if it's a neighborhood that doesn't sell.
Exactly. No, that's a very valid point. And
then
you
like
can
that. So it's very strategic on your investment. You're not just saying like, hey, choose zip code. You're like one that actually. I haven't heard an agent tell me that before. They're doing the analysis of like how much stuff sells in that neighborhood too.
Well, it's a science, and when you figure out that science, because it's all about the numbers, you can play the same numbers, right? And this way, you're not wasting your time, your investment, and realizing that people aren't moving when you think they should be moving, because not everybody's moving on your timeline.
Yeah, that's for sure. Like especially right now. What's the real estate market like in Toronto right now? Like
it's not very favorable.
Yeah.
And yet we've just sold 2 properties. They're some of the highest prices in the country. And we pulled them off. So because we're in the luxury market, and I chose to be in the luxury market, there's always capital in that marketplace. And if you're a prudent investor, a prudent buyer, this is the environment you want to acquire something in, because there's opportunity out there. And because of that opportunity, that's where cash is king, and you're buying into a suppressed market in hopes to catch that next wave when the market does take off.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm in Austin, Texas right now. I think we have 7 or 8 months of inventory.
Wow.
But if you break it down to like certain price points, like the inexpensive stuff is at 6 or 7 months of inventory. If you go like $1.3 million or higher, you're at like 2.5 years of inventory. So we are we had a great, 2019 to 22, 23 that are really like slow a couple years since then. Everyone's had to like kind of reinvent the business plan. They've used it to gain new market share. It's really weeded out the people that don't do the effort.
Right.
But getting a listing, and now that analysis more than ever. So like doing that same analysis you talked about with farming, getting a $2 million listing somewhere, maybe you want to figure out what the months of how long it's taking for the average $2 million house to sell. Because if it's taking 2 years for the average $2 million house to sell in your neighborhood, or 18 months, or even 12 months, then again, you can back into how many of those you're going to need. If you really want to sell for this year. So
you got to factor that in, because you got to think cash flow. If you're running a proper business, you're always thinking about cash flow. And so cash flow is a very important indicator in terms of, to support your business, maintain expenses, pay your taxes, and support your lifestyle. And if you don't understand that component, you're at a loss. And cash flow obviously is everything, because you can't have these constant, ups and downs in the marketplace for your own personal business. It has to be more constant, more consistent. In fact, you've got to be able to get your business to increase at least 10, 15, 20% every year to support long-term growth.
Yeah. So let's talk about, so your luxury branding. So
yes.
If somebody is thinking of a luxury home in Toronto, Canada, they're going to think of Jerry Hammond. Right.
Yeah, they are. There's very few others that they would call. We've given ourselves such a competitive advantage in the marketplace that there's very few competitors that can even compete at our level.
Yeah, I've interviewed several people in Toronto. I love it when I get to talk. I do feel like I know a lot about the market and what people are doing up there. And I love that you've like branded yourself. Your focus is on luxury. So but I guess that's the whole goal, right? The goal is that somebody says, hey, who's the luxury agent? First person they think of is Jerry Hammond. And you do that from farming. You do it from, from your events. You do it from going out and door knocking. And then you said it's everything about like your brand and how you look, from something as clever as the bag being a Tiffany color bag to, to like, just, I think that's brilliant. Right. So what are some other things that you guys do? And again, this is advice for an agent
Sure.
in the market where they're like, hey, I want to be the luxury brand. They know that that's going to be a 2 or 3 year tradition, commitment to change from, if they were just selling whatever, it's going to take some time to be branded as the luxury only. And with that being said, do you say no to less expensive listings as part of that? Like, what's the secret of being the one that they think of for luxury?
Yeah, we don't say no to less expensive listings, because we like to think of ourselves as a realtor. We want to be fair to the marketplace, but we do it extremely well. So if you're looking for the best doctor to perform surgery, if you're looking for the best lawyer, then we're that company. So people call us. And we find that, human beings have this sense of attainment, and they want to deal with people that are going to give them good, sound advice and proper advice, because the amount of money that goes into real estate is a large investment to begin with. So they're going to call upon the leaders in the industry to give them the right guidance, to make that right advice, to sell the property, to get the highest possible price out of the market, and give them an advantage in the marketplace. And that's how you want to position yourself. Because if you're positioning yourself for not providing value to the marketplace, increasing value for particular homeowners, you're at a loss, because now you're like everybody else. And people have to know that you're sincere about your approach, and that you are doing justice for the community, and that you're maintaining and increasing value accordingly. And it's not a race to the finish line. You can't have that attitude. And you can't always think about, okay, when I'm going to be selling something. You have to think long term. You have to work on their timelines, because these are people that have substance and have capital where they can hang in there for a long period of time. So you have to work with them. So going back to your original question, just to answer it, more appropriately, is if you're going to join the world of luxury, then study it, because it's a topic within itself. It is a subject. And what I mean by that is, go and stay in a luxury hotel and see how they serve people. Understand the service aspect of some of the greatest industry leaders in the world, because success leaves clues. And there's a lot of other luxury companies out there that you can learn from. And just go find out, what, is it the detail of their branding? Is it the quality of their goods? Is it the quality of their marketing? What do they create scarcity in terms of, what they're providing and what they're marketing. All of these little key points are things that you can adapt to, and that's how the psychology of the luxury consumer is. So if you can adapt yourself and look into their world and study it and understand where they're shopping, who they're doing business with, where, what restaurants they're going to, because they all know each other. They all conduct business with each other. And that's telling you a lot about essentially what you need to know about the luxury consumer.
Yeah. So and I really like that idea. Going into hotels, like, if you've flown on a first class in a wild airline, you see that every step of the way is different.
Right.
A luxury 5-star hotel, the way they push their brand out there, the way everything feels. And that should portray inside your business everything from listing appointments to open houses to the community events where people come in to learn more about you.
Exactly. So what we we call them touch points. What are these touch points where you can really resonate with the consumer, where you're building the trust, building the relationship, thinking long term, them understanding the value that you provide to the marketplace. All of these are key essential factors in, gaining respect out of the marketplace and them coming to you to suggest, hey, we want to do business with you because we like the way you operate. We see what you've done. You sold our friend's property, or you sold the home down the street, and you did a great job. I mean, that's really what you just need. A lot of cheerleaders out there, a lot of great advocates, and people that are watching you and they're keeping an eye on you, because you have to become this celebrity. You have to become like a celebrity, and you have to create celebrity status in an area, especially if you want to grow and make it really worth your while. If you're thinking on a smaller scale, that's fine too, because there's stepping stones to getting there. But on a grander scale, if you've got big dreams and big hopes, and you want to travel to interesting places, and you want to stay in all these wonderful 5-star operations, you got to be able to pay for it. So if you're going to have to pay for it, you have to live it a little bit. And then that'll rub off to your consumers, because now you can adapt your conversations and talk more of a global scale, talk about global, economies around the world. And that's how you essentially, align yourself with that client base.
Yeah. What's the average price point right now in Toronto?
Well, our average price is anywhere from about 6 to 7 million, our personal average price. But the average price in Toronto overall for a home is just under 2 million.
Cool. So it's under 2. You're averaging that 6 or 7. So different types of clients, different types of conversations. If they're going to talk about this golf course or coming back from this country or flying on this airline, the more you've done it, the better, the simpler or more. The easier the conversation is, the more they trust you automatically, because they feel like what they're talking about. As maybe as simple or as silly as that is, I think it really, whenever you relate to people, right, the conversation goes better. If I'm talking to somebody about a property and they see that I've done an Ironman and they've done an Ironman, I do Ironman races and they've done one too, they like talking about that.
Absolutely.
If they whatever it is, like the little things that come up along the way. So
there's a natural law of the universe, which is we can't change it. It just happens. It's called like likes like.
Yeah.
And so people like who are like them. And if you can build that association into people that you like and they like you, and there's a common element, a common ground, or a common commonality between the two, that's how you gain the relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. The people like I like that.
Yeah, it's very true.
And then how many people are on your team or in your company?
So we've got about 15 sales advisors, and they're all full-time. We cherry pick the people that work for the organization. We make sure that they're full-time, that they're totally dedicated. And what we do is we provide them all the great tools that they need to succeed. And so we have people that have never been licensed before come into the organization. We provide them all the tools. And we have one lady that joined us very young at age, was in a corporate job prior to joining us. And in her first year, she made almost $300,000. So she's extremely happy, because what I've learned is that there's very few brokers out there that are leading the path for their agents. And that's a bit of a problem. So most brokers are sitting behind the desk, running the operation, or they have a manager, or they run under a franchise. And so that franchise is saying to them, look, you got to have a numbers game. because you don't know who's going to succeed. Well, I think that's a bit of a fallacy. I think if you provide strong enough tools for people to succeed and you tell them to just go out and take the material, and you'll help apply the material on listing appointments, on offer presentations, and which I do, that way you're getting a totally different result because everybody's got the same vested interest. And now we've created partners within an office environment rather than just saying, okay, this is your job, this is your mission, and good luck. If you sink, you sink. If you swim, you swim. That's not how I treated our I guess what I define as our partners here in our office.
Yeah. When you've talked about you worked through different versions, you've had different bosses, different businesses, different companies before you came up with this plan.
Yes.
This way that you treat people. And so, yes, there's thousands of agents that are listening that are thinking about joining a team or switching to a new office. If you were in their shoes and you go to the interview and you're going to interview this new team or this new office, what are the questions that they should be asking? Because it sounds like your company, in your mind, you have all the right answers to those. So what are the questions that someone should be going out there to ask if we're trying to give the tips to that new agent right now?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, you got to find a place that's going to really be supportive and, help you lead to the path that you want to go on. So if you've got big goals and you're ambitious about your career, understand that there's people in that organization that might already be there. And so if they can, build that association with them and understand, where they're at, that's something to learn from. Because within every organization, there's always a leader. There's always people kind of leading the pack. Very few, the rest of them are kind of laggers. They're maybe not as full time, but that's where you want to be, with a bunch of winners and people that are going to look out for each other, where the culture is strong and where they're really going to look out for you, and they've got information that they're going to provide to you for you to succeed. Because if they're not going to provide that, if they're just going to hire you for the sake of hiring you, and they're not going to provide you with the tools and the guidance and really help you meet your goals and objectives, you're not in the right place. And I think in most part, people can feel that. People can feel that sense of, they may be excited about, the interview process. They may be excited about, getting into the business, but really dig down a little bit deeper and take a few steps back before you enter into the office environment, and know that they've got certain market share and know that there's leaders in their own organization. We have one lady that joined us. She went to 15 different companies until she landed here. And she said it was the best thing that she did, and that she landed at her office, because she was searching, and she was searching for something that she found here in the organization. And that takes time sometimes. So you have to be meticulous about your approach. Don't just settle, because if you settle, you're going to end up with, results that you're not going to be happy with. And I'd say that's part of the process.
Yeah. So Toronto, the market in general up there, are a lot of your buyers, are there a lot of people moving to Toronto? Or is it half and half? Is it a small percentage? Are most of your transactions local Toronto to Toronto, or are most of them people coming from somewhere else?
Yeah, well, we define the company as Hammond International Properties. So the reason why we have that name in our organization is because we had a lot of international business come to Canada in general. So when there's political unrest around the world, we seem to get that flow over into Canada, because Canada seems to be a peaceful place. It's a place of acceptance. It's a good country to be in. There's great schooling, great place to live, safe for the most part. We're neutral in terms of our politics. So yes, we did a lot of international business until the federal government decided, okay, we're not going to allow them in for now to acquire single family residences. But yes, we did that, and we continue to do that because we market, not just in the Toronto area, but elsewhere in key marketplaces. And so yes, we do have a large international market base.
And then what are your predictions with real estate for the next year?
So I think we're past our trough. We thought our trough was in 2024. 2025, we've actually excelled as an organization here. In terms of the overall market, it seems to be dipping. Yeah. Our politics aren't right. The interest rates don't seem to be changing. There's a lot of friction in politics in general globally. So that's taking an effect on our marketplace. And we're highly taxed, and that's a little bit of a problem internally in Canada. So unless we fix that structure, we'll be able to move forward. Canada has to build its brand back again, because it's a great country to live in. And I think we have to look at the U.S. as how it's building its brand, or how it continues to build its brand. And I think we have to stand out a little bit more as a country. And most people want to come to Toronto anyways because of all it has to offer. We kind of look at ourselves as a mini New York. And so people like to come to Toronto, and it's a great place to establish yourself, establish your family, for many different reasons.
Yeah. So that makes sense. So in general, your company, you guys have figured out how to succeed, and you're like, you've made some adjustments. Even though the market's down, you guys are doing good. You're kind of out of your trough, going to the other side. In general, though, real estate market is slow. You think it's probably going to be slow, and slow is comparative. I know that, but like I'm comparing to the last 35 years. You've got lots of experience of like good years, bad years, good seasons, bad seasons. And this is a slower season comparatively.
Yeah, it's a slower.
I don't think it's going to get better over the next year or so.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's going to get better. But you know what? That doesn't mean that we're going to be negative about what we do, and it doesn't mean that we're not going to perform well. And
it's great to represent buyers, right? Buyers
absolutely.
Markets is a great time that when the market is like this, it's a great time to get a good long-term deal.
Exactly. Yeah. And you know what? Still represent sellers, because you have to have the inventory to support the buyers. You just don't lose your focus. Like, don't listen to the naysayers. Don't listen to the news. Stay optimistic. That energy alone will channel new business. It'll channel new opportunity, and you'll see the doors that it opens naturally. And, I don't want to sound like it's, ethereal, but it's true. Because I've always been this way. It's just who I am. And I think when you channel that energy and that resourcefulness to creating opportunity and finding the right people to surrounding yourself with great people, you'll channel the energy to make opportunities happen. Because people are attracted to that. People want people that are movers and groovers and, make things happen, and that they're winners, and that they're going to turn things around, good times or bad times. They always want somebody that's going to stick by their side and create, an opportunity for them as well. And that's just human nature.
Yeah. So I want to see, so like your goal for the next year, like your personal goal for your business, that you
yes.
15 people working there. What are the goals you have for the company?
Well, we've done a few things to sort of increase the amount of people that we can have. We created our own masterclass, our Hammond International Masterclass internally. So we teach it from within. We may go to the public and transfer it outside of the company. We're on that path as well. What we've also done is a digital presentation book. So you open up the book, there's like an embedded iPad in the book. When you open it up, we created all these visuals and these videos talking about the organization and what it has to offer. And we did that at a very professional level. We outsourced it from another country, and it's really changed our presentation skill set. So rather than us going in and talking about the business, talking about the company, talking about what we have to offer, this book does it all. And it really helps enhance our position in the marketplace, makes us look even more professional. And it's saying things that we wouldn't have even thought to say in a presentation.
Yeah. Well, Jerry, this has been great to talk to you and hear your kind of attitude and your experience. I love the way when you started in business, you started with, door knocking, and it really is that proof that whenever we're out there, we're adding value, because that one door knock to help a guy buy the house across the street turned into 4 deals. That's when you knew you were born for this. And 35 years later, it's still one of the lead flows that you guys do.
Absolutely.
I think one of the biggest pieces of advice I'm giving all agents right now, when times are tougher, we have to work harder. We have to try new methods that we hadn't done before.
Right.
Like it's totally normal to go like, okay, we need to try something different. If you haven't door knocked before, you need to try that. If you haven't farmed before, you need to try that. I love the idea too that you hit on, of this idea that so for the average agent today, times are tough. They're making less money than they did a couple years ago. Not all of them. I interviewed plenty of people that are crushing it this year, crushing it last year, having the best time of their lives, right? But they're mostly newer agents that didn't have to unlearn any bad habits, right? They just tried something and it worked. The newer people seem to be really successful right now. People that have been around for a long time are having a tough time struggling, because we know what works for so long, and when that stops working, it takes us longer to learn the new tricks. But the point that I wanted to reiterate is, you said before you try something, figure out, do some of the analysis to figure out what your real ROI is. If you can only afford to send out 3,000 postcards, who are they going to go to? Is it going to be a neighborhood that if you get 3 listings, they don't actually sell? or is it going to be somebody that if you get 3 listings, one of them will sell? So if you're trying new things on a budget, before you leave your office, before you leave your house, before you get in the car, like be really, really specific about where you should invest that money and how, like what neighborhoods, things like that. So yes, because that's the one way to make the dollar stretch further. Jerry, I know that people are going to want to reach out to you after hearing this podcast. They're going to learn about some of your international kind of like maybe that training program that you're going to be doing. They're going to want to send you some buyer referrals from people that are interested in coming up to Toronto, and just maybe hearing more about how you do your luxury listings or things like that. What's the best way for listeners to get a hold of you?
So you can call us at 1-877-702-7870, and that puts you through to the office. My personal extension is extension 3000, or you can email me at jhammond@hammondinternationalproperties.com. It's a long email, but it works, and you'll remember it for a long time. But if there's 2 things I can add to this conversation, which I think is really good, stay humble and stay hungry. Don't let your ego stand in your way and that'll stop you from moving forward. And the new people that are out there, when you don't know something and you don't know it, that's a blessing in disguise. Because when you don't know something, you're out there, you're being adventurous. And another thing that I just want to say to all the listeners is keep reinventing yourself. Don't stay stagnant. Reinvent yourself somehow, some way, looking for improvement, whether that be, in your eating habits or your exercise habits or your family habits or, even your business, to keep reinventing it, making yourself look relevant, making yourself stand out, with all their competitors. That's just like good, sound advice. And if you look at all the great companies that stay relevant and that grow over time, that's exactly what they're doing. And they're growing, by the way, all the wonderful companies that have created greatness in the world. If you look at when they start in times like this, when times aren't so great. And that's what takes you, and you ride into that wave, and you can look at things very differently a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, or 10 years from now, or even like myself, 30 plus years from now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stay hungry.
Yes.
Stay humble.
Absolutely.
And then remember, some of the biggest companies in the world were started in tough times, and there's going to be a lot of big businesses, a lot of new people creating. Like I said, most of the time right now, it's the people that like keep reinventing yourself is probably that key.
Yes.
Why it's easier for someone that started in real estate a year or 2 ago to be successful than someone that started in real estate 5 years ago.
Right.
Because the ones in the last 1 or 2, they don't have to reinvent anything yet. They're just doing what's working in this market.
That's right.
When we've had incredible years of doing stuff a different way, it is hard, the more experience we get, to like make these changes. So you already said, so J Hammond at J Hammond Properties International is the email?
J Hammond at hammondinternationalproperties.com.
Right. So that'll be in the show notes. So
yeah.
So people will reach out to you that way. And then, all right. And I think maybe you did your last words, but anything else you just wanted to add onto that as we say goodbye?
No, I just want to thank you for the opportunity. I just want to thank all my fellow realtors out there for hanging in, doing well. Stay optimistic, because in all fairness, we are a major source for the entire economy. Without real estate, we're the big wheel. Tech might be the big wheel, AI might be the big wheel, in the future, but real estate, if you look at it from the beginning of time till today, it's always been a very important factor in the marketplace, and for every individual, and for people to build wealth, and for people to think long term, and to people, for people to enjoy moments in their own personal homes, create investment plans, buying properties for their kids. It's such an important part of society, and you really have to take that at heart, because it means a lot. And don't take it for granted, because it's an incredible industry where you meet great people, you'll learn from them, you'll adapt to doing business with them, you'll be respectful to who they are, and things come back to you in so many different ways if you're putting a lot of good out there. And it's just going to come back naturally.
Yeah. Well, Jerry, I could tell just by your attitude in the conversation, I think you're probably really great at what you do. It makes sense that why you've been so successful, and the stay humble, stay hungry. That's an impression I got from you today. Really, really good conversations. Real estate rock stars, go reach out to Jerry. If you want to learn more about Toronto real estate, more about luxury properties, or you've got somebody you want to be able to send up there. As always, if you want to chat with me more, go find me on Instagram. That's the place I like to chat the most. It's at Aaron Amuchastegui. There's not very many people with my last name. So as soon as you get to Aaron, AMU, you're going to find me. And you might have heard an ad in the middle of this podcast too. We still have a few tickets left for next year's mastermind in Austin. You guys have heard us talk about a lot on here. Instead of selling up into the last minute, we're just doing our pre-sales and shutting it off so we can spend the rest of the year focusing on content and speakers instead of sales. So you've still got time for that. You want more information, go to realestaterockstarsmastermind.com. That's to book and reserve your spot in Austin for next year. Jerry, thanks again for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Real Estate Rockstars, thanks for listening.